Hello everyone, I'm Siki and I have recently won another Edison Championship in Zagreb. Out of the 5 large Edison events we had in Croatia, I have currently won 3 of them. I have decided to, first of all, I decided to play a hybrid Blackwing Vayu deck. A friend of mine sent me a list which plays all of the big Vayu payoffs, and I was building the deck and I went like 15-1 on Dueling Book with the finalized version, and I was like, okay, I'm taking that to the event because it felt good. And then I built it IRL at like 6 a.m. before the event. I draw the first 4 test hands and I was like, this is the best deck I have ever played in Edison. People could literally pick out cards from their side deck and they couldn't beat those 4 hands. Then I drew another 16 hands, and before 6:30 I had a pure Blackwing built, so yeah, the deck was a bit inconsistent to say the least. This was my first time actually playing Blackwing IRL, but I do understand how the deck is supposed to play. I do understand the cards, of course. It's popular. I felt it's a bit of a boring deck, but I kind of felt I had to play it since people were really playing all of the hate they could against the pure Vayu or the Vayu turbo deck. So I just decided to play something that wouldn't die to it as much. So I'll show you the deck list. It's nothing that original, but I do want to explain some choices, and then afterwards I will talk a bit about the event and hopefully share some useful insight for anyone else who wants to, well, succeed at the format, or perhaps just see what I had that day, except for luck, of course. So for the Blackwings, I played 3 Sirocco, 3 Shura, 3 Bora. I sided one out a lot, and I'll explain it more when we come to the side deck. But I do like it in the main just so we have more names for Whirlwind and such. 3 Kalut, I don't even mind just drawing this in Whirlwind because it's still a good search. The 1 Gale, obviously you'd play more if you could. The 3 Blizzard. In this deck, unlike the hybrid variants, Blizzard is actually, of course, just really good to draw because it allows you to, if you open Whirlwind, this and another Blackwing, you cannot search for him. You can just search for Kalut or Gale or a smaller normal summon or whatever. And then I played 2 Vayu. Honestly, I wasn't sure if it's better to play 1 or 2, so I just asked my friend who played a lot of Blackwing, and he said play 2, and I was like, sure. I sided 1 out almost every game, 2 and 3. And the funny thing is, like, having 2 is good because in the late game you can search it when you normal Blizzard, and then when you make Brionac you get a good card to pitch. And every game 2 and 3 that I had that line, I also drew the 1 Vayu, so it never worked out. Maybe I just cut the 1, maybe I wouldn't. I honestly have no idea. It's good either way. At least you can sack it for Icarus. As long as you can convert your bad cards, they're not as bad, so it's fine. And for the other monsters, I just played the 1 Dark Armed. I thought about maybe maining like 1 Crow just for the combo decks, but then I heard a lot of people were just going to be playing good decks, so I decided to play good cards and not play Crow. For the spells, the one-offs first, I played a single Allure. I'm iffy about this card, but it's the only card that gets you out of like really rough spots. I usually hold it as long as I can. 1 Brain Con, 1 MST, 1 Heavy. I honestly even sided this out a few times just because people are on the draw traps right now, so it's not as impactful as often. The 2 Whirlwinds, of course. And then for the traps, there's a few one-offs, so I played this, of course, because it's good. You side it out against the mirror and stuff like that, but you want a powerful card in the main deck. It wins you more than it loses you, so obviously you play it. The 1 Mirror Force, I don't like Mirror Force that much. I prefer actually Deep Prison, but we'll get to that later on. The 1 Judgment. Now people talk down on Judgment in the main deck, and I can see why you would not like it, but the thing about Judgment is, if you're ahead and you just set the Judgment, you can just play it extremely aggressively. Like you just, let's say you're playing against Machina and they normal summon their Stratos, or if you actually play against Hero and they normal Stratos, you can just flip this and then you put them on like a 2-turn clock to kill them, or you can just hold it for traps or you'll ahead or whatever. Like, it has so much utility. I really like it. I played one Royal Oppression. I'm also not a big fan of this card because, yeah, of course it wins you games against like zombies and the whatchamacallit, the frogs and so on. But honestly, the card itself is a bit it's a bit clunky sometimes because you have to set it and then you have to set other traps to protect your monsters from beaters and so on. So I'm not a huge fan of it. I just played the one in the main and I didn't side any more copies. And I even sided this out sometimes in the matchups where it's solid against, just because I wanted to put other stuff in. I played the free Icarus. If you play less than free in pure Blackwing, I don't know what to tell you. Like, this card is the main payoff, one of the main payoffs for playing the deck, except for like the archetypal monsters, which are good as well. For the classic traps, there's free 2 bottomless, and free deep prison. This is why I don't mind the Mirror Force, because like I just maxed out on battle traps and I went with the idea. The only like battle trap quote unquote I didn't play was Book of Moon, and I did think about playing it, but in the end, like, these cards are just higher quality in a vacuum, so I decided to go for that and not try and like engineer hot water or something like that. I also wanted to have as many live traps as I could to protect my weaker openings. Like, if I can go Bora Pass and just protect it with these cards and then try and push some damage with them. And then for the draw traps, I played them like this. Honestly, I wish I had access to a second Jar of Greed, so I could play 2 of that and 1 Yaragrasu. Because the idea behind it is that when you get the top cut, most people have already scouted your deck and they know what you play. So if they know you're playing Yaragrasu, they're expecting you to, if they know that you're playing Jar of Greed, they're expecting you to max out on Yaragrasu. So like, ideally I would have had like a 2-1 split for this event. And if you want to change up the deck list, maybe it could have been like a 1-1 split, or you could play more of them. But if you're playing more of them, then I don't think you get any benefits like in deck building. Because like this, you can fool people into playing around them more than they should. If you just play too many of them, people start playing into them and you don't get any actual payoff from it. I didn't play the Torrential just because that card is dead quite often, and in Blackwings at least. And like, it's a solid card, but there were things I preferred to main deck or side deck over it, so I didn't include it in the deck list at all. I played Gores in the side deck, but I didn't want to play in the main deck because I thought that players whose skill level is a bit lower are not going to play around it ever. And so if they hit it, especially through draw traps, that's good. But like, playing against players of a lower skill level, you expect to win either way, so you don't really need a card that's going to punish them in particular. While better players know that like Gores is something that happens in Blackwing, so they might even play around it and punish a card that's not optimal anyways. And I also played the Oppression in the main deck. So the extra deck, nothing too fancy, just the 2 5s, the 2 6s, the 7, your 3 8s, or 4 8s, sorry. I played the Chimera deck and the extra deck. I didn't see need to side it. I didn't need like a 16th card in my extra deck, or the 15th, I guess. And then for the Blackwing package, the 2, and then the 1. Basically, again, didn't want to try and re-engineer hot water. You don't need any more than this. You don't even need this many in pure Blackwing, but I did prefer having 2 of these just in case I hard make one, and it did happen, so there's that. And then on to the side deck. So the side deck, I side deck 2 DD Crow for the unfair decks, for Lightsworn, for Vayu and stuff like that. I'm not a huge fan of this card, but it's kind of better in Blackwing because you can also convert it with Icarus attack, and you already have a bunch of beaters. So against decks like Lightsworn, which can freely pop your deep prisons, you can, or against decks where you don't need back row removal, you can side those cards out for these, and you keep the same amount of monsters, you keep the same amount of like good cards in your deck, you just increase the odds of sacking them with a Crow. I played the 2 Cyber Dragon. I put this in the mirror match. I put this into a lot of aggro decks against heroes and so on. I'd usually side out one Bora and one Vayu at least, so I'd had 2 slots for these, but I also had a going first replacement for them. And the going first replacement was 2 Thunder Kings. So Thunder King isn't like a great deck, but the thing is, when you go first in the mirror match, you either want to open a live Whirlwind, or if you open this, you protect it from it like trades with Cyber Dragon, but it also stops their Whirlwind, so they have to get rid of this first, so you put them a turn behind. And it was just a non-dark monster. I can side it out the Consecrated Light Bulb, and it has some other utilities. Honestly, like playing 2 Fossil Dine Apache instead of this slot may be a bit more optimal, but I didn't have access to Apache when I was building the deck, and I really couldn't be bothered to like ask someone to bring Apache. I don't think the card is that good. I was just like, I'll put in the 2 Thunder Kings, and it's probably gonna be fine. I was hoping I wouldn't play against plant decks, so yeah, spoiler alert, I played plants and it cost me. Then I played 2 one-outs. The Kaiku is just here to like side out Vayu and play another big beater that actually does something against certain decks like zombies and Vayu Turbo. And Gorz is just here to try and punish good players, especially in the top cut. And it's a lot better when you're going first, because if you do open it, you can just be like, you can make that face you'd make when you brick, and then they hit you, and then you Gorz them, and then you win the game. Out of spells, I only sided 2 Noblemen. It's for Vayu, but it also hit a lot of Lightsworn, and it was in for like a Synchro Cat, so it's, you know, it's just a good card. It helps you keep up the aggression. And the thing with Blackwing is you can convert dead cards into Bryonic fodder, so it's not that terrible. I would have preferred it with Book of Moon, but again, like I didn't want to play suboptimal cards just to get a few good interactions through. Starlight Road, I think that the card was terrible all day. I'm sad I actually put it in the side deck. Probably should have been a 3rd Dust Tornado, but it did help me find a more secure line for winning one game, because I heavied my own back row to flip this and then have protection for their back row. And well, I could have just heavied their back row, but this got me the damage I needed to end it that turn. And in top cut, I didn't do it, but I also had a situation where I would have done it had my Dark Arm gotten like bottomless or something. The 2 Dust Tornado, again, maybe it should have been free. I really like this into matchups where you just keep trading back row. It's good, and then like, of course, the hidden effect allows you to get a few outplays in, especially with the draw traps, because you can pop something, set a draw trap, and then you have a live draw trap if they commit to it later on, or you just flip it during your turn or whatever. And then the 2 Pulling the Rugs. I honestly like when I used to play Vayu, I'd play free, but I think this deck has a much better Frog matchup. So that's it for the deck. I'll comment on the event briefly. So I'll just go through my matchups. I have my cheat sheet over here, and I will tell you how it went and what I thought about the deck. So round 1, I played a player that played Synchro Cat. The thing about Blackwing is that you get the same payoff that they get for playing unfair combo decks without having to play pretty much any bricks in your deck. You just play a strictly better version of their decks. And one game he just set a monster, and I was like, okay, my turn, I go Black Whirlwind, normal Sirocco, I search for a Bora, special summon 3 Boras, special summon Gale, pump a Bora to, what is it, 86 or something, and that's either game, or if he survives, then it's so much damage that I'm going to win. Game 2 was against Plant. I did lose that one. That's what I get for saying that Amaryllis is a terrible deck. I still kind of stand by it. I think it's not really like a good deck, but I guess it's better than most rogue decks in Edison. Game 1, I just couldn't keep up with the pressure. And then game 3, I got, my opponent had Decree Fertilizer, and then I Black Rose the field, and then I kept drawing non-optimal top decks, and then I lost, which, yeah, I'm not saying that to take anything away from my opponent, don't get me wrong, but I'm just saying that I still don't think that deck is favored into Blackwing, especially when you can like pierce over the tokens for free and stuff like that. It just felt like one of those, you know, like kind of slightly unfortunate games. My third round was against a Testalos hand control Monarch build. That one was, it was difficult. Again, I think Blackwing is very favored into frogs, but it's difficult to play, especially if the pilot is skilled, because the deck is more annoying than it's good, and you really have to play very carefully around their stuff. And then if they start like hand looping you, Ryza looping you, and so on, you just want to scoop. But it's not necessarily a completely lost game, because frogs actually need to have somewhat of a consistent top deck game throughout the game to keep threatening you, while they're just looping your resources and you keep getting your threats back. And then sooner or later, if they start drawing poorly, you just out-resource them. The next one was against Blackwing. I don't have much to comment on that. It's just a mirror match. You've seen it. Draw traps kind of help. The next two rounds were against Lightsworn. Again, like the thing about Lightsworn is they will beat you in the grind game. So when I was playing the last round of Swiss, my opponent just set a Raikou, or I was going first. I went like Whirlwind Bora, and he set a Raikou, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna make a Brionac next to my Bora. I'm gonna go -1 to just bounce the Raikou, swing in for 4k, put you on a 2-turn clock, and be like, can you out it or do you die? And he couldn't out it, and I just killed him. And then game 3, game 2, I didn't draw an out to the Consecrated Light. And then game 3, I think it was a bit of a back and forward, but I had a set judgment, and he was like, I was ahead, and he just normal summoned Lumina, and I was just like, yeah, I'm judgmenting it. Like, I don't care if I'm ahead, I don't care if I can out the Lumina. He might have Honest or some shenanigans like that. I'm not gonna fuck around and find out. I'll just judgment normal summon and just kill him. And then in Top Cut, first round was Blackwing again. A very skilled player, very difficult match. At one point, he quote-unquote sacked me with my body as a shield, because I summoned Dark Armed, and then I just went to pop his monster first, which I still think is the correct play, but he had my body, so I lost Dark Armed. I think I lost that game. Or maybe, I top decked that game to victory. Basically, the games were decided by who resolved the Dark Armed Dragon, so much for the matchup. Then next round was against Hero Beat. Honestly, Hero Beat is just worse Blackwing. Like, I really don't think that that's really that good. They lose to more cards than you do, and the only times that they actually beat you is if they sack you with like good interactions through like Gemini Spark and so on, and if they don't get enough good interactions, you de facto just beat them. And then the finals was against Monarch. Very skilled player. He played like a variant that's between Dream and like Stun, because he played the Water Arts, but he also played the Fishborg. And then game 1 came down to basically a 50-50, where he hand looped me, and he knew I had Oppression and Deep Prison, and I decided to just set 1, because he didn't start doing any like combo shenanigans, so I thought his hand was pretty weak, which may have been a misread on my part. So I decided to try and play around Heavy Storm, which, you know, you could argue that was a mistake, but I just set 1 back row, and I thought that there's a chance he might try and out it with Unifrog. So I set Deep Prison, and he went Unifrog, I Deep Prisoned it, and then the Oppression won me the game. And then game 2, he just set a frog and passed, and I went Deep Prison. Deep Prison. I went Black Whirlwind, normal Bora, search for Kalut, and search for Blizzard. So I have follow-up, and then I just set the anti-Monarch rug, or pulling the rug. And I was like, if he heavies it, I already paid off my 2 continuous spells. I just want push the aggression with the trap. And then what happened is he did summon a monarch, I pulled the rug, I top deck a Sirocco, normal the Sirocco, searched for 2 more Boras and just swung for game. So basically, like, I honestly enjoy the format less and less the more I play it. There's just so many interactions where you either play a 50-50 game where you're like, well, I'm betting on the back row to be this or that, or you're playing a game where there's so many one-offs your opponent can sack you with that you cannot reasonably play around them. And most of the time when you can try and play around them, that could actually be a misplay, because then you play into them just having a good quality hand without those one-offs, and then they just out-resource you and so on. And while I did enjoy playing the tournament, honestly, I'm not sure if I'm going to continue playing Edison format, and if I will, I'll probably go for a more fun deck. However, I still wanted to like give a bit of insight to how I approached it, and basically I quit playing Wild Turbo because I knew people were really hating on the deck, so just decided to play the meta deck that's the hardest to side against. And also, when I realized I'm not playing hybrid, I had this funny picture of my cat like lying across my cards, so I just sent that to every group chat where players were, and I was like, oh yeah, my cat's helping me deck build. And so hoping that people for Top Cut would be like oversiding DD Crows or whatever, thinking I'm playing the hybrid version. And it did pay off at least one game. So yeah, there's still like this whole mental factor to Edison that's more prevalent than in like modern formats. But again, I feel like the format is overexplored and I feel it's solved, and I'd much rather be playing, I don't know, Toss or Hat or like Tengu or anything else. So yeah, hopefully someone else can pick up where I left off, and that's pretty much it. Thank you for watching.